Welcome once again to Malibu Pacific Podcast. I'm Darren, and here with Amy once again.
Hey, good to see you all.
I know last time we said that Joel was going to be back, but I don't know. He's on vacation, and he's in Hawaii.
He's
and
in
I'm
Hawaii.
Actually,
he may not come back.
I'm actually not convinced that he's coming back at this point.
No. Come
No.
on, Joel. Let's go.
Joel and Shannon having a great time on vacation, and
it does look a bit magical. I might want to stay if I were there.
Well, you know what? I mean, but if you can't be in Hawaii, being in Malibu is kind of
That's true.
It's
pretty much right there.
It's a decent second. Let's just say that it's a decent second.
Yeah, it might be equidistant. Yeah,
it maybe. Well, what another incredible Sunday here at Malibu Pacific.
Yeah,
we had our mega awesome
costume party. Yes, we did, with a 62-foot bounce house. That thing was amazing.
That was pretty wild. I even got in there after everybody left. I was like, I deflated it, and then everybody left, and I was like, I need to have a go on this. And so I hauled my 53-year-old butt up the slide and slid down. It was a lot of fun. And
I just appreciated when they got here, they were like, it's not going to fit. And we're like, oh, yes, it will. We measured. We have it ready to go.
Right. We measure twice, cut once. That's how we do it here at Malibu Pacific. And Fallapalooza for the adults, mate, how good was that apple pie? I'm just going to say it.
Oh, I had the pumpkin. The pumpkin
You had the pumpkin?
Life-changing. That Costco pumpkin pie is it is my favorite Thanksgiving treat. So
it's crazy because, I mean, little bit of inside baseball for the our huge Australian audience, but we just don't do sweet, like pumpkin and sweet is not a thing in Australia. So pumpkin is always a savory thing. So when we moved to the States and I remember our first Thanksgiving and they're like, oh yeah, we've got pumpkin pie, and I'm like, what? Pumpkin what? And then it came out and it was had all whipped cream. I'm just like, what is happening right now? The idea that pumpkin is something that would be sweet, we would have roast pumpkin or would be served as a savory thing or pumpkin soup or those types of things. So the idea of pumpkin being sweet, and I was just like, what is going on right now?
Oh, see, my favorite fall treat are my pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. Ask our college group about it. They are a hit. So
pumpkin
chocolate chip cookies. They're amazing. Email me for the recipe, guys. It's amazing.
All right.
It's
all right. This podcast is quickly becoming Amy's catering tips. Here we go. But what a great Sunday. And, man, you knocked it out of the park, preached an incredible message, and wrapping up, tying a nice little neat bow on our Born to Lead series.
Yeah,
the whole series has been fantastic, right?
It's been such a great series. Yeah, I loved it. We talked about the what breaks our heart of leadership. We talked about the how, turning obstacles into opportunities. We talked about the how, staying focused on what's essential, not what's urgent, and then brought it home with who are we leading with? And that's a big question.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you really kind of broke it down for us as as you began to share about how Nehemiah and his ability to be able to gather people effectively.
Yeah.
And I think, my favorite part of the message was right at the end when you kind of presented it all to us and then said, so how long do you think this took? Right? And I'll be real honest. I've been a pastor for a long time, right? I've been leading churches for 30 plus years, and I'd never actually answered that question. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I had
crazy.
I had assumed, just like everybody else did, you were talking about years, Yeah. I mean, it just in your mind the narrative speaks of a long-term project.
Yeah.
But when you actually read the text and you discover that it's 52 days, and really that just shows us, I think it was just such a demonstrative demonstration of the power of one another.
Yes.
And the power that and what we can do together, and so how much exponentially greater our ability and our capacity to be able to fulfill the calling of God, certainly for Nehemiah, and then for us too, that actually our ability to be able to do things, not just to do incredible things, large things, things that are well beyond the scope of an individual.
Yeah.
Our ability to be able to engage in that has everything to do with how well we can do life with other people.
Yes.
And how
Yes.
our ability to be able to, and the word you used, inspire others
Yep.
to join with us in fulfilling a vision.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, we study Nehemiah, but it's not Nehemiah who was able to build the wall in 52 days, right?
Wow.
It was Nehemiah's ability to inspire other people to join him to
Yeah.
build the wall in 52 days. And God, miraculously using King Artaxerxes to resource it, and God using Nehemiah's ability to inspire, and Nehemiah just not getting distracted by the neighboring nations, not getting distracted by the people who said no,
Yeah.
and him just moving forward. It's pretty powerful. It's
Yeah.
pretty challenging to us too, I think, in that way of, okay, what is God asking of us, and how can we inspire people to join us in that?
Yeah, and I think the mistake that we often make is we think that if I could just get that one incredible, the one person that has all the things that I need to be
Yes.
able to fulfill the vision, like that one super person,
Yep.
or that one person that's fully resourced. And if I just had that one friend, or I just had that one contact, or I just had that one individual, then that would fix everything. But when you really think about it, I was thinking about it the other day, and realizing that, yes, the king was able to open the doors
Yeah.
for connection and relationship, and also open the doors for resource. But even it was in the absence of ordinary people, like people that in and of themselves don't have the ability to build the wall on their own.
Right.
In the absence of the ordinary people gathering, like they were the true resource.
Yes. They
Like
were the
that's
true
what allowed it
resource.
to happen in 52 days. He
Yep.
could have had all the stuff. He could
Yep.
have had all the permits. He could have had all the equipment. He could have had all the resources required. But if he didn't have the ordinary people who were willing to actually put aside their agenda,
Yep.
and
Yep.
say-
leave their farms, come
Yeah.
into the town. Yeah. And
so it's actually like the ordinary is actually the hero of the story.
yes.
Like the heroes are the ordinary people that said, I'm gonna lay down my agenda, and I'm gonna engage in this thing. I'm gonna allow Nehemiah's his conviction to inspire me and propel me into this thing. And so I think we are predisposed to the extraordinary.
yes.
But really what we see in the story is that it's the ordinary.
yeah.
It's the ordinary people that are the ones that are actually were the real heroes that
Yes.
made things happen. And how is that in our lives, that every person that God has brought into our oikos, our sphere of influence, the people, our family, our friends, our co-workers,
Yep. Our community.
even
yeah.
even the least of those people, like in our minds, but and I don't mean that in any significant way, but that's how we convince ourselves.
Right. That natural hierarchy
that
that
natural
we
hierarchy,
naturally
right?
we
Yeah.
naturally build. Yeah.
Because we're predisposed to go, and I need a hero, but actually we're surrounded by heroes all the time.
Right.
People that if we would just step into their world, will actually be able to contribute incredibly to fulfilling the vision and purpose of God.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think the first thought I had when you said that was marriage, and I'll call out my amazing husband. But when I first wanted to get married, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm here, I'm holding my hands up. I thought I was like, okay, I'm like mid-level. But when I marry this man who's so amazing, now together, the two of us are going to be able to conquer the world. We can do everything together. He's going to fulfill all of my hopes and dreams and, complete me. And I'll never need any other human beings. And this is going to be, which you learn very quickly in marriage, that God never intended it for it to be just the two of you. Now we have a great marriage and we get to serve God together, and that's beautiful. But like, in addition to that, I'm so thankful for my friends who bring other things that Garrett doesn't bring, or there's all this community of people that get to add to that, but we can put so much weight on this like one person, and this is how I'm going to move forward in God's calling, is this one person, right? And so it's such a great picture. Nehemiah, the story of Nehemiah is such a great picture of, it wasn't just, he needed one great nobleman to come alongside him and, inspire the people. It was he had that gift and that ability, and so he had this huge network of people that worked alongside of him, and it was beautiful.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really just speaks to this whole thing that you did such a great job just teaching us about and helping us to explore together, that really it's our ability to do life well with others.
Yes.
That really creates the impetus for us to fulfill the calling of God in our life. That it's not just it's not just me and God in my prayer closet that's going to make it all happen, but actually that God has resourced your life through the people that are around you.
Yeah.
And I love that story that you talked about with the widow and the oil, because man, it truly is like the measure of her blessing, like how much she was able to be blessed.
Yes.
And the future resource that she had was directly related to the number of jars that she could have that she could get her hands on.
Yeah. Which was directly related to the investment that she had made over time in the people around her.
Right.
Right? So he is asking her to go to her neighbors. And the reason she can go to them, and we all know this, is like, you're not going to knock on the next door neighbor's door that you've never met before, that you've never had a conversation with. So she had built this community over time. She had invested in the lives of others. And this was the moment where she was asking them to invest in her.
Yeah, because the story is very clear on this point, that the oil ran out at the point in which the jars ran out.
Yep.
So the question is, if she had more jars, she would have had more oil.
Resource. Yeah.
And so the oil would have kept flowing until the jars ran out. So how many jars she had was directly related to the number of friends that she had that she could ask for jars from. And so it's in this incredible way to realize that so much of what God is wanting to get into our world is invested in the people around us.
Yes.
And if we would just, I think, to use to humble ourselves at times and just say, hey, would you consider coming alongside me and helping me in this project? Or maybe there's something that God's got in your heart, and that you would step outside of your own comfort zone and step into somebody else's world and say, and invite them in.
Right.
And say, hey, would you join me in this? Or, would you consider participating in this activity?
Or flip it. Or how can I help you in what you're doing? Right? What are the people around you doing that you could be a resource for them? So it's kind of both ways, right? How are we inviting the people in our lives into the work that God is doing? And are you even moving forward in a work that God's doing that you can invite anyone into? Right. And then the other piece is, do you see someone doing a great work with the Lord that you could step in and be a resource for them and help them be a part of it too?
100%. And we see it all throughout the biblical narrative, from the beginning of Genesis right to the end of Revelation. There is this constant theme that God is not just wanting to restore man's relationship with him, but he's also wanting to help us to have healthy relationships with one another. Yes. And even the cross is this perfect image of both a vertical and a horizontal relationship. And that God is wanting us to not just be able to relate to him in purity and in wholeness, but actually that we would be able to relate to one another well. I was thinking about this morning and considering that even when you look at the Ten Commandments, like 4 of the 10 Commandments, the first 4 are about our relationship with God.
Yes.
But the second 6 are about our relationship with one another.
Right.
So much is it like it's like
Well-
right even there we just see that it's a priority. Like
Yes.
the emphasis is more on, hey, this is really important. This getting along with one another. Like
Right.
don't do these things because it's gonna be bad.
It's going to mess up your
Yeah.
relationships. Well, and Jesus says the evidence to the world that you are a follower of me. So the evidence that the fruit of Jesus is in our life, that our vertical relationship is good, is that we love one another, right?
Wow.
Like the
Yeah.
evidence is found in love.
Right.
So, just that percentage of, even from the beginning, it
Yeah.
was what is our relationship with God like, and then what is our relationship with
Yeah.
others? And then Jesus comes and he's like, hey, and by the way, everyone in the world's going to know that you are my disciple if you
Right.
love one another.
Yeah.
And so it's
And
just
we see it in
this
the Great
constant
Commission
theme.
too, right?
Yeah,
it's
Great Commission.
the
Yeah.
Great Commission. It's like love the Lord God. So it's our vertical
Yes.
relationship with Him, but love your neighbor as yourself. Like these two things are go hand in
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
and are desperately required.
Yeah.
And I think there are seasons. I don't know about you, Amy, but I think there are seasons in life where I do one of them better than the other.
Yeah.
There are seasons in life where I feel really drawn really close to God, and I feel really like, okay, this is going really well. And then there are other seasons when maybe that is lacking a little bit, and maybe I'm more successful in my relationships with others. But I think God is constantly wanting us to give attention to both of
to
those
both of
things at the same time.
Yeah.
Even, I'm just thinking about it now, but you go back to the Garden of Eden. If we to take a spiritual perspective here, if you think about how did Satan tried to derail man first through diminishing his relationship with him,
God. Yep.
but then after we leave the garden, where the consequence of sin is manifest, the next story is between Cain and Abel,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now
It's a conflict story.
So now it's a conflict story,
Right.
So we a
Interpersonal
conflict with
conflict.
God.
Yeah.
Oh well, so I'm going to disrupt. The devil's going to disrupt that, and then
Yep.
what's the next story? I'm going to disrupt this.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills just thinking
Yeah.
about it. Like
Yeah.
that's and so when we are in conflict with one another,
Mm-hmm.
we need to recognize that there is a spiritual component that's going on here. There is because the devil wins when we don't get along.
Right.
Like when we
Right.
can't do when we can't live life well with others,
Right.
and not just others that are our friends, not just others that are the people that are
No.
like us,
Right.
or that see things the same way as us. But when
Right.
we can't do
That
life
vote
well,
the same way as we do
Well,
with an
okay.
election coming
Yeah,
up,
let's
right?
go.
Or that-
All right, let's go there. But
anyone,
it's
right?
true, yeah.
Anyone that has the same perspective,
Yeah.
that's not what God's asking of us.
yeah. But that's the devil's tool,
Yes.
is to get us out of sync with one another,
Yes.
to disrupt those relationships, because invested in those relationships is the provision, as you said, like that the provision for the vision is
yeah.
found in those relationships.
Yeah.
And so if the devil can disrupt those relationships, then he can disrupt the provision
Yes.
for the vision.
Yeah. And then he can stop the vision from moving forward, right? Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy when
Yeah.
you really start to think about how powerful this is.
Well, and if you think about some of the most redemptive stories outside of the Bible in history, I'm thinking of Rwanda,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why is that story so incredible? Because despite what should have divided and kept people divided forever,
Mm-hmm.
for all good reasons. I mean, they had every reason to hate, and they chose love, which was only possible through the power of Christ.
Yeah.
Right? So these stories that we can hang on to in history happen because Christ actually transforms us. And because that vertical relationship is so good, it transforms our heart to overflow into the horizontal relationships, to act in ways that are completely counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
So what are some ways that you think that you would prioritize in your world to so that we can learn how to manage our relationships well? Like what do you think are the keys to being able to really do that? I think at church we talk a lot about how to manage our relationship with God.
Yep.
But really, that biblical narrative from the beginning all through, Paul's writings are
Right.
are not just about our relationship with God, but they're, a lot of his writings to the church,
Right.
to the churches, his letters to the churches are all about how to get along with one another, with one
Yeah.
another, right? So,
Yeah.
so what do you think are some keys or some tips that we could apply into our world that'll help us to be able to manage our relationships more effectively, so that we're able to actually live in the fruit of those relationships,
Right.
You know,
right.
in terms of what God is wanting to do in and through our lives.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the first thing is to acknowledge, ask that question, who are my people? And I don't just mean who are the people that I want to be my people, but who are actually my people? Like, who are the people that I'm in relationship with? Okay, now which of those people are there conflict with? Is there something I need to ask forgiveness for?
Yeah.
Is there something I need to address? Is there a conversation that needs to be had? Is there so kind of starting with that awareness of who are the people that I'm naturally in relationship with, and where is our relationship at, and then starting to take some of those biblical tools of, think of others as better than yourselves. Okay, am I you shared something with me earlier in conversation. Will you share it again? You said it's a question that you ask yourself about your relationships every day, and I feel like it's a perfect tool for right now.
Yeah, like the thing that I always am asking myself is, whoever I'm interacting. So with you, is Amy's life better because I'm in it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So I think about with my relationship with the church. I think, is Malibu Pacific better off because I'm here?
Yeah.
And my goal.
What a great question.
Yeah,
We should all be asking that question.
But my goal every day is to. So with everybody that I interact with, I'm asking that question.
Yes.
So if I'm interacting with a staff person, or if I'm interacting with a member of our teams, if I'm interacting, the question I'm asking myself is not how do they make my life better,
Right?
But the question
right.
I'm asking is their life better because I'm in it?
Yeah.
Because the opposite is not good.
Right.
Like, so even when I'm, if I'm going to a restaurant, I'm asking into my interaction with my server, is
Right.
their life better because I'm here today? And so it helps really to guide and shape my countenance, the way that I interact with people, recognizing that there is an effect, often a hidden effect of our interactions with one another that we can actually have control over, and that we can determine at any given time. And that doesn't mean that we don't have challenging conversations from time to time. It doesn't mean that we, but even in those moments of where there is a challenge relationally, we're still always walking into that and want to walk away from that, knowing that we both need to be better off. On the other side of this.
Right.
We both need to be better off at the other side, and that their life would be better because I'm in it.
Right. So you're seeing interactions as a win-win opportunity, not
100%.
a win-lose. And so I think that's a big.
And I think it's just approaching life, realizing, and it's not pride. It's not saying I'm awesome, and you're going to want to be my friend. Like that's not the posture. It's recognizing that God's primary function is blessing and encouragement, right? If we are made in His image, then we are created with this unlimited capacity to bless people and to encourage people.
Yes.
And so if you just choose in every interaction that the other person would walk away feeling blessed and encouraged, like, I don't know that it's that hard, really. Like, it's not hard to do. You just have to posture yourself in that way and thinking, hey, this is an opportunity for me to bless and encourage somebody.
Yeah, and in the way that you've been designed. Like, we're not
100%.
In the way that God has made you.
100%. Right? To me, it's about just conforming to the original design.
Yes.
Like, it's just reading the instruction manual and going, I'll do that. Right?
Well, that's it. We're supposed to be bringing heaven on earth now.
Yeah.
Like, that is the whole. Jesus came to bring the kingdom of heaven on earth, and we are the manifestation of that in the world, right? As Christians, we get to be that heaven on earth. So how are we bringing heaven on earth to the people around us? And
I think on the backside of that, I've realized in my own life that I'm actually not very good at fighting my own battles. Like, I'm not very good at fighting for myself.
Yes.
When I'm fighting for myself or my rights or my things get twisted very, very easily. My emotions can tend to run away with themselves, and I find myself doing and saying things that I regret.
Yes.
However, when I'm fighting for other people,
Yeah.
I find I don't find anxiety and stress in that. I find a
No.
level of courage and expectation
Yes.
and almost joy in the fact that, hey, I'm gonna fight for somebody else.
Yes.
And when I do that, there's a much deeper and dare I say purer motivation that
Right.
kind of allows us to function at a much higher level and achieve so much more. Because I think ultimately, and what we're kind of in the summation here is like my life isn't really for me.
No.
No,
it's not.
Your life really isn't for you.
No, it's
like,
not. It is not
our
for
lives
me.
have been given to us by God to be a blessing
Right.
to everybody
Yeah.
everybody around us. And when we can kind of walk the earth with that in our minds
Yes.
and become more aware of that, all of a sudden we become vastly more open to opportunities to serve, vast more opportunities to
Yes.
bless and encourage and to
Yeah.
lift up and to enable and to secure incredible futures for other people.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that what I've discovered in my life is the more that I focus on the needs of others and stop focusing on my own needs,
Yep.
is I just wake up one day and go, wow, I'm living the dream.
Yes, that's
You
what
know
I was
what I
going to
mean?
say.
It's
I'm
like-
like, that's actually where joy is found. Joy
Right.
is found in
Yeah.
the given life, not in the
Yeah.
taken life. So,
And even
yeah.
even just practically, I've discovered that the less I fight for me, the more I discover that the things that I really am wrestling with, that God makes a way for those things that didn't
Yes.
even require my involvement.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's just incredible. The Bible is literally is stories of one another's. God
Yes.
partnering with man
Yes.
to fulfill his purposes on the earth.
Yeah.
And I think in everything what we're talking about here is that God gives vision to individuals,
Yes.
but the provision for that vision is found in the people around them.
Yes.
And so, therefore, our ability to be able to engage effectively with our sphere of influence, with our friends, our family, our co-workers, the people that are in our world, in your communities, in your church, in your neighborhood, our ability to do that well, isn't just about blessing them, but
Right.
also will open up the doors of opportunity in your own world.
Yes.
I often consider the life that I've lived and the many big changes and moves that Bree and I have made over
Yeah.
the years with our children. And I recognize how much of those big things that we've done have hinged on small relationships.
Yes.
Like a conversation here that
Yeah.
opened up
Yeah.
a relationship with this person that then
Right.
that
Right.
opened a door for
Right.
this and,
Right.
and all these things are
Yeah.
all it's
Yeah.
I think I might have said it before, it's the whole big doors swing on little hinges, like
Yes.
and our and then I consider how many more of those things are still in front of me, like how many more people are God
Yes.
are yet that God is yet to even people I don't even know, or that He's yet to even bring in my world, are going to open up some other door for
Right.
me.
And this can be such encouragement for people too, because it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, you can build relationships. It doesn't matter how employed you are or unemployed you are. It doesn't matter, right? All of these things that we can in our society can say these are the hindrances or the open doors for you to build relationships. That's actually not true. If we can have a conversation, we can build a relationship.
100%.
And we can be the gift of God to someone else. All we need to do is be able to have,
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Maybe somebody who's listening to us today, Amy, is saying, I feel like God is calling me in this direction, but I feel stuck.
yes.
I
Yes.
wonder
Yes.
today if you would just consider that maybe you feel stuck because you're just looking at it as you and God.
Yes. Yes.
And you're going, well, I can't see the pathway forward.
Right,
Like,
right.
I know this is what God wants me to do, or He's speaking to me about. Maybe today your prayer would be, Lord, bring somebody into my world that
Yes.
can show me the next step.
Yes.
Or that,
Yeah.
because I believe that just like Nehemiah, if he had that burden, if he had just been like, what? I mean, he could have been stuck real fast.
Really fast. Really fast. Yeah.
He could still be building that wall on his own right now.
Right.
Still
today.
He could still be
one stone. I think it'd be taken down. But,
yeah, right. But so it was, and I wonder as we're sitting here today that you might be sitting at home and going, I feel stuck in this moment. I know what God's called me to do, but I just can't see that pathway. Maybe it's because it's not going to be just you and God that makes this happen.
Yes.
That actually there are people around you right now, and maybe you just time to just lift your eyes up a little and look across the landscape of your life.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to require a little bit of humility.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I was actually going to say maybe your prayer right now needs to be, okay, show me someone that I can step into their life and bless them. And God is really wildly amazing about how when we do that, then he can use those people or someone totally different, but just something about us moving from that place of like, God called me to somewhere, now I have to make it happen. And then we become Sarahs who are giving our husband to Hagar or something, and we trust that he is going to make that come to be. And so our job in the meantime is to be the blessing to someone else.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
And maybe the second thing that we should consider as well is when I look around my life, what is it that God's calling me to engage in somebody else's world? So maybe in your world right now, there are things that you see, there's maybe problems that need to be solved. There's that God has uniquely equipped you to be able to bring a restoration or a help or an opportunity. Open your eyes, folks, because I guarantee you that around you is opportunity for you to serve to somebody else's vision, an opportunity for you to engage in somebody else's world, bring life, love, joy, perhaps resource, talent into their world, and be not just a blessing to them, but be a part of somebody's story of victory. Because ultimately, isn't that what life is about?
Right.
It's about journeying with others and not just winning for yourself, but helping others win.
Yeah. Well, every single person, every Israelite that was there on that day that wall was built in 52 days. I mean, they all were part of that victory 100%. And they felt it. That 100%. Was a deep celebration moment. And the neighboring nations were like, whoa. Yeah. Whoa.
So today, you can be a hero for somebody else, or maybe you need a hero.
Yes.
Maybe you need people to come alongside you. Either way, God is calling us. He has a plan, a purpose, and destiny for each one of us. And I'm just excited that as we open our eyes and explore the true possibilities of what God is wanting to do in and through us, that incredible things are going to be unlocked in your life, in my life.
Yes.
Around
Can't wait
here,
to hear about
here at MPC. Always incredible things coming up here in the life of the church. Amy, thanks so much today for sharing with us, and on the weekend, just an incredible story of God's incredible provision through ordinary people.
Through ordinary people.
You and me. We qualify. Woo! Yay!
Yeah, you certainly do.
All right, folks. Lots of incredible things happening. MPC over these next coming weeks. Check the Malibu Pacific app constantly, every day. Refresh.
Yes.
Because there's new things coming up all the time. What have we got coming up over here? We've got our women's and
mini
men's
retreat.
events.
Yep.
Yeah, women's mini retreat on Sunday.
Saturday morning.
Saturday, November
morning.
2nd.
Yep.
Still time to register, ladies.
Still time to register.
Men, we have meet and meet in the evening. Yeah. So make sure bring something to grill, and we'll provide everything else. It's going to be a great time. But check out Malibu Plus app, available at your favorite application store, preferably Apple. But get onto that, folks, and we'd love to see you here anytime you join in with the incredible community here at MPC. Love you guys. See ya.